IFAS Training 8, Receiving Goods in IFAS. The final step in the purchasing system for the user is once the PO has been received and sent to the vendor and the physical good has come into the city. When that happens, what we'll want to do is go to Receiving Information, and that will launch us into the receiving screen. In this receiving screen, we're going to enter the PO number relative to the purchase we're receiving. Once you enter that, you can hit enter. As you can see, it pulled in the information relative to the item I have. So what it's telling me is there was one line item of widgets. They were in bottles. We ordered 10 items, and the amount ordered was $136.48. As you can see, received to date 0 and amount to date 0. It's possible to receive in partial amounts. So what we want to do is put in a quantity accepted or a quantity accepted and quantity rejected should you reject an item. It's very important to ensure that the goods are finalized before you do this. Also, we have the option, if these 10 widgets came in perfectly, I can hit the Receive All button. That's going to automatically enter in the amount there. Once I've entered in how many I'm accepting, how many rejecting, I simply hit the Save button. And what this does is save it within the system, the record is accepted, and then feeds it over to accounts payable. So when the invoice is received and accounts payable begins to pay the good, it will block the payment if A, receiving hasn't been recorded in the system, or B, if the receiving number of goods in total does not match what was received in the system by the employee. So it's very important to complete the purchasing process by entering in receiving when the good is physically received into the city. IFAS Training 3, Entering a Regular Purchase Order. In the City Purchasing tab on the dashboard, you'll see the first line item is Purchase Request. This is where we'll issue information when we want to request a purchase order to be issued. So you can click on Purchase Request twice, and that will open up the POUPPR Purchase Request screen. If you notice, in the case this is a test environment, we've issued numerous purchase requests, and purchase orders have been issued upon them because we've been testing. Chances are when you first get in, you'll see nothing on this entity list side. To add a new item, you'll want to select the Addition button at the top of the screen, which places us into Add mode. Note this clears out the screen. We want to auto-seed the purchase request number by clicking the ellipse, and then we want to add a vendor. Again, we'll click the ellipse to search for vendor. Control L to look up for shortcut. Let's start with a vendor that starts with a B. If you know, in this listing we have customers, we have employees, and we have vendors. Always make sure you're selecting a vendor when you're doing a purchase order. I'm double clicking on this vendor to bring them back into the purchase order screen. Now I have my information. I can select a ship to and a bill to location in the same manner. In this case, I'm sending it to Central Receiving, and I'm sending the bill to City Hall. My purchase O type is regular. Anytime you see bolded items, that means it's required filled. I have an option of blanket, contract, or standard PO, and this is a standard PO. Because of that, none of this information above needs to be filled out outside of that. There are some pieces here you may want to fill out, like if you received a confirm number, perhaps you have a contract number, or maybe you have some specific dates on this date tab you can put when it was required, when you expected it, when it actually showed up. So there's some special items you can add under this area. Now we have our basic information. We'll go in and put our information in. In this case, we're buying some widgets, so I'm going to put in a quantity of 10. Then I'm going to select a unit. It's a drop-down box, if you notice the arrow. So I can choose a little bit of anything. They're all listed here. I'm going to do bottle. Description. And a unit price of $12.55. Now I've come to the GL/JL portion. This is where I'm going to charge this item when it's purchased. So I'm going to click into the key area, and I'm going to come over here and click this ellipse, which allows me to look up an account. In this search box, I have the ability to look up an account to see where I want to charge this. I know, for example, that all the finance accounts start with 415, so I'm going to put 415 star. And then I also know that supplies object starts with 56, so I'm going to put 56 star there. I'm going to hit apply, and this is going to filter down to just a handful of accounts. So now I'm going to select finance revenue, general supplies. I double clicked on that, which brought it back in. If this was project related, I could also enter a JL number. If it had been a project, I would enter the JL number first, because chances are it's already been mapped to a GL number, and that number would fill in after you went through the process. Now I have my information, my amounts. I am ready to press enter to save this invoice, this purchase request. It's taking just a moment. Now if you notice at the top, it's indicated record accepted. That means it's gone and checked the account, made sure there was a budget there, that it was a valid account, and all the information was correct. Now once I have that information in, and I know this information is good, I want to come over and click the Workflow tab on the left side. I'll hit refresh, and this is the workflow for this item. If you originate a PO, you have to send it into workflow. That tells workflow model that you're ready to move it on the line. So I'm going to hit the green button saying, yes, this is ready to go to my supervisor for approval. If it was under a certain amount, it may not go to any supervisor for approval, just straight to the purchasing manager. I'll hit submit. Now that item's been entered into workflow. When the workflow item is approved, I'll actually receive an email in my Outlook account that will tell me that it's been taken care of. That's purchase order basics. We'll cover some more information in future session. IFAS Training 2, Dashboard Basics. The dashboard is the main screen that you'll use to access all the information in IFAS. There's numerous features that are contained on the dashboard, and we're going to cover basics here. First, you'll notice at the top right of the screen, there's an Options button. If you click on the Options button, you have the option to change your password should you choose, and then you have Preferences. The preferences determine what tabs you see along the top of your screen. These tabs are used to actually access sections of the system based upon function. So if you do city purchasing, you would want to make sure that the city purchasing tab is selected so you could see those options. Let's take a moment and actually look at city purchasing. So in this tab, we have two sections. We have one for reports related to purchasing, and we have one for functions. All of the menu options within IFAS have been designed so that you actually complete the task downward. So in this case, we would do purchase request, then put the item into workflow approval, and then once we receive the good, we would receive the information. You can always click Home on the top of your page to take you back to Dashboard. Note on the dashboard also is the workflow tasks. This is where you'll actually approve items in workflow if you're an approver. So for example, AR invoice approval, I can click on this, it'll launch into a section that will show me what's left to be approved, what the items are, and give me the option to approve, disapprove, or delegate to another user. These are handy items when you're doing day-to-day processing, and they're contained on the main dashboard. If you note, we have the weather on the dashboard also, just a nice thing to have to see how cold or warm it is outside. Those are the basics of the dashboard. If you have more questions, please contact the IFAS Help Desk or the City in IT. IFAS Training 1, How to Access IFAS. IFAS is an internet-based software program, so we'll load no software on your actual machine. You need to launch Internet Explorer, then come up to the address bar at the top of the screen, type in 4 letters, IFAS. That's all you need to do, and just hit enter. This will bring us to the Centrix login. This is the first login to get into the system. This login provides us access to the ASP service in Chico, California, where our servers are actually housed. So we'll enter our username and our unique password, and then we can just hit enter to launch. Now I'm in the actual production side. Note the application window. In applications, you should see very few of these icons, but you definitely should see one called Dashboard. If you note, it has the Internet Explorer icon. Double click on that to launch into the system. It's now mapping all the Citrix information. This brings us to our second login. This is our unique login for IFAS to actually access this program itself. So again, a unique username and password will be issued to you. And once you complete that, just hit enter. And this brings us to the dashboard. The dashboard is the launching point for all of the items you'll use within IFAS and will be the topic of IFAS Lesson 2.